Ault. He's the author of Who Lost America, and I want to get to your book on this segment here. But we were talking about the whole concept of Liberty Villages, putting it in a neighborhood. I mean, if you got 10 families that are suddenly generating electricity, and they can show their neighbors, yeah, here's my bill last month, here's my bill this month, oh, here's what they sent me this month. Then and this don't require any investment. You got 100 acres, okay. You donate 5 acres to your employees, to the people that are going to help you run the farm. You're going to train them to run a farm, to do a self-sufficient family farm. You're responsible for this. This is your land, and you get the income along with the workers there. You get the income from the restaurant, from the sales, from the equipment, from the, I ran a bookstore like that, and I made a lot of money selling books. We can do that.
It's fascinating. And as I say, there are a lot of people in this country who are looking for something other than what's available, and along the simpler, cleaner lines of what you just outlined.
Now, we've already got the gentleman I had on yesterday was Dr. Jake Wade. He created the Little Red Schoolhouse, and I helped him with this almost 15 years ago. Little Red Schoolhouse was homeschooling, so the parents could just get the disc, put it on the computer, sign onto the internet, and educate your children at home. He expanded into the Timothy Bible College, so I'm working on my master's degree in divinity and political science with Timothy Bible College. The Liberty Villages would have that built in.
That's wonderful. That's an interesting combination of subjects that you're pursuing, the divinity and also political science.
Well, we're not talking about religiosity, as Dr. Wade puts it. We're talking about the Bible gives you all the clues and all the information that you need to build a relationship. And God gave us the sun, He gave us the wind, He gave us the plants, He gave us the seed-bearing plants for our use. By making that, I'm not a big fan of churches, man. I mean, you want to get on your knees and pray for a Cadillac, I'll watch. You want to bang your head against that Wailing Wall, knock yourself out. You want to stick your nose in the dirt and your ass up in the air and pray to Mecca, I'll try to keep St. Bernard off of you. But these villages, if you find 10 people of like mind, you can have a Mexican village, you can have a black village, you can share barbecue in that, or you can have Chinese food in your village, in your restaurant, the way you want to live, and the people around you, how you want to live. I'll come over to your village and have Mexican food.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about a racist thing. We're not talking about anything that they can really point a finger at, and we're not even talking about making any money out of this. If Liberty Village may pay, $100 a year for the name and for a listing. That's all. Here's where you can go to spend the night, to eat good food, to be safe, and to see what the 21st century could be like. People working together. People working together in their neighborhood. People working together in their county. Because if we can't solve, these people have this New World Order crowd. They've been working on this for thousands of years. How to control, how to enslave whole populations.
Yeah. That's right. How did you arrive at the figure of 5 acres as opposed to 10 or 12 or?
Depends on how much. It depends on how many friends you got and how much room you got. It could be the thing. You could have 100 of these homes or these cabins or these teepees or whatever is indigenous to your area. I would prefer. I think we kind of followed the wrong model. I think we've and I have a lot of Indians and Indian advisor and auditors that come on my show, and we're all indigenous Americans now. Doesn't matter whether you're white, black, red, or purple.
Yeah.
And we've got role models for this. I mean, the Amish people are they live. I would live a little bit more technical. I like the 21st century. I believe God now uses the internet.
You might as well. Yeah, that's the way to get it done. Yeah, the English have kept awfully tight rein on themselves, and it's hard to see. I've been down through that Pennsylvania country there where they live, and it's a real time warp. I mean, you go back, you see these horses and carriages on the road and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would have a little bit of difficulty with that. I ride a Harley, No, I ain't trading it in for a horse and buggy.
Yeah. Well, listen, it works for them, and or mostly it works for them. They every once in a while they have something come up that they can't quite handle, but I think it's been a successful form of life, a way of practicing their faith for a long time.
I think that the Liberty Villagers blending the 21st century with the way I put it in my thing is all of the charm of the 19th century and all the convenience of the 21st.
Yeah.
So if we could now what about the finances? The problem that everybody in the whole patriot movement is suffering right now is the fact that they broke us. They have eliminated. They've called up advertisers. You're not advertising with that anti-government rag, are you? Well, we're not going to do business. Now, how do we and who is doing this? I mean, we're talking about the ADL, Southern Poverty Law, and now Homeland Security, which I think has just turned into the whole KGB, Stasi, police state network, and it looks to me the way that we're going in the same direction as Mother Russia went when they before they killed 40 million, 60 million white Christian Russians.
Yeah, that was a terrible bloodbath, and we weren't really fully aware of what was going on. Not that we could have done much anyway.
They had complete control of the press, and they have pretty much complete control of the press, except for this show, except for the internet. They've got control of the media. Yeah, whether this is Jewish, Jesuit, or Muslim, it doesn't really matter. Somebody's up there, somebody's up at the top, somebody's controlling what you can know, what the American people can know, aren't they?
Yes, indeed. Our media is very tightly scripted, and if you have a message that doesn't fit with their model, your message doesn't get heard. And most of the media are controlled by liberal owners, and it was a great tragedy in this country when the generation of the independent newspaper owners started to die off in the after World War II. A lot of our newspapers had been in private hands for families for years, generations, and they get older and the kids didn't want to go in the business or whatever, and so they fell out, and that built up these tremendous media conglomerates, and money came in and sucked them up, and you lose a lot of freedom of opinion that way.
I've had CIA people that have done films up on YouTube, been on my site. They say the most important thing now is the internet, is the bloggers. They're the people like me that's trying to get, and the people like you that are trying to get this information out, trying to make people aware, and letting people know there are some alternatives. Somebody told me once that the whole New World Order crowd, they don't have the power that they want you to believe they have. If they did, we would still be under the Syrian Empire or the Roman Empire or the British Empire. And today the world is going under the American Empire, and they're using us. They're using our children, our sons, our daughters in these useless, senseless. Well, it's not a useless war if you understand that they're sending our sons over to steal from other countries.
Yeah, this is kind of the new colonialism. I mean, we're doing it by military means, and we go over, we try to leave our supposedly our political imprint on the countries, but it's more than that. There's oil involved, or minerals, or whatever, food, or it's we're not a friendly guest. And it's kind of embarrassing to pretend otherwise.
Well, you know, the psychological operations that are being done on the American people on a daily basis. I mean, come on, guys. When you're watching the football game, what's the commercials on there? What are all the commercials? Half of them are for pharmaceuticals, man. There's a 200,000% markup, and if you take those pharmaceuticals, they're trying to convince you somehow this is good for you. If you eat the right foods and avoid the right foods, you stay pretty healthy. You don't need this medical industry for much.
Well, I agree with that. I read a fascinating book a few years ago by a couple of Australians. It was called Selling Sickness, and it was about how the pharmaceutical companies marketed these products and got you to feel that you had a reason to buy them. And of course, you know, you can mention any kind of physical symptom, and somebody will say, "Oh yeah, I got that." And
why they create? Excuse me sorry for interrupting, but they create new disease. Oh, your kid, yeah, he's really smart, but that's ADT. Oh, he's got attention deficit disorder. ADD. You gotta give him this Ritalin. You gotta give him this. You gotta give him that. You gotta give him this. And they're really drugging the American people to the extent that it's comparable to what the British did in China with heroin. And by the way, we're running the heroin too now.
Yeah. Well, thankfully my kids are grown, but if I had young kids today, and the doctor says, well, you got to start feeding them medicines of any kind, I mean, I'd really look at it very carefully. And it's a whole new way of practicing medicine. The doctors, they have an array of medications available to them, and they all have come accompanied with test results and studies, and it's just a different way of living. But on the other hand, we're importing many more forms of disease because of our mixed population, people coming into this country. So it's a tough question. But to me, the pharmaceutical companies are overdoing it.
And so is our medical industrial complex. Our presidents have warned us about it. Eisenhower warned us about that. Isn't that what we're in right now? I mean, how many wars I've also kind of come up with the concept that just possibly we've been in Armageddon for the last 100 years, and the press just didn't tell us about it.
It certainly feels that way sometimes.
Now let me ask you: you've been in the investment.
Yeah.
Is it possible to find some investors to back this Liberty Village? We don't need much money. We don't have to buy the land. The structures are inexpensive.
I think that if you're involved with a local project such as that, the best place to get the money would be locally. They're the people that would be close to it, could observe it, could participate, could advise, whatever you want. And it's not the kind of thing that's going to work a miracle on Wall Street, because the bankers and the venture capital funds, they only like to deal with big ticket items today.
Right, and they wouldn't like this anyway because it's removing the hold that the electric, the gas, and the food has on us right now.
Yeah.
And they're expanding that control to water. They don't want you. They don't in Colorado. It's illegal to put a rain barrel under your to catch the water off your roof.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That surprises me. How long has that been in effect?
Couple of years. Couple of years.
And what does that accomplish?
Well, that water's got to run down into the street, out into the creek, and run down the river to that lake that somebody bought.
Okay. Wow.
This is part of the control. This whole communist control. It's about controlling everything that you got. You know, I mean, again, I repeat, every plank on the Communist Manifesto is intact. Abolition of private property, heavy progressive income tax, abolition of all rights of inheritance, confiscation of property of all immigrants and rebels. I suppose if you smoke a joint today, you're a rebel, you know, so they can confiscate your property.
Yeah. But I'm curious about that rain barrel. Now, supposing you have a house there in Colorado and a passing storm goes by, maybe 10 minutes or something like that, and you can't get a little water from that?
Well, you can do it, but it'll give you a ticket for it, or arrest you, or something. Yeah. You know. Ayn Rand kind of had it right, Bromwell. You know, the government has no control over honest citizens, so they got to make criminals out of us, and that's what these drug laws are about. You know, if somebody with a badge can walk up to you and say, "Let me see what's in your pocket there." Oh boy, you're gonna do some time on that. Oh. You're in a police state. I'm sorry, you're in a police state. And they turned our number one, our $1 billion crop, worth more money, more versatile than cotton. They made it illegal. They made you a criminal if you grew it. He said, but oh well, there's 10,000 products made out of the hemp plant. They can grow it in China. They can grow it in Canada. They can grow it in Mexico. And bring it down here and sell it to you, but you can't grow it here. That's a police, I'm sorry, that's a police state in my eyes. But in your books, let's talk about your books.
Okay.
Where do you go in them? What are they about? I know we've discussed some of it today, but give me for the next 10 minutes or so, give me an outline of your books and where people can get those. Bromwell Ault is my guest today. Who Lost America is the name of his latest book. You've got others out.
Yes, I had one a couple of years ago called Eminent Disdain. Who Lost America? The subtitle is Can America's Democratic Identity and Government Survive Our Ethical, Political, and Economic Failures? And that's really what I write about. There are a lot of issues that are important, like the environment and immigration and education and our national identity and taxation and all major issues that our government really doesn't want to handle, or they can't handle them correctly. And you can see over time how our own input and participation in our government is just dwindling. And because at the top of the heap you have these 535 members of Congress who are basically there to sit around and talk and collect income from the lobbyists or to serve very strong financial local interests at home. So that's and it's too bad because we're losing a lot of our freedom, and we're changing our identity, and we're making life in this country not as good as it was. I think one of the key issues has been immigration. And it's, to me, the immigration issue today is the most threatening to our democracy since slavery. And that's because it's both a cultural issue, and it's a political issue, and it's an economic issue, and it's a constitutional issue. And slavery was all those four things, too. And yet here we have four recent presidents who disregard the laws that are on the books about slavery, starting with Bush 1 and Clinton and Bush 2 and Obama. And when you have a government that can disregard laws and pick and choose which ones they want to enforce, you're in trouble. Deep trouble.
You know, I said I used to be fairly comfortable being called a right-wing extremist when Clinton was in office, but when the real right-wing extremists got in office, I guess I became a liberal. But
yeah.
I mean, I see no difference between Bush, Clinton, Bush, and Obama.
No, I don't either. And what they have in common is that they're all in the Oval White House, and they have this tremendous power available to them, and our tremendous national wealth, and they can pretty much do what they want with that.
It's Carl, my friend Carl Klang, who did a lot of music, said, you know, if you got your very own printing press, you can print up your very own money pretty soon. You can buy up the whole neighborhood, and that isn't that they bought up all the corporations, all the artillery corporations, all the gun making corporations, all of the pharmaceutical companies.
The big industries, the pharmaceutical industry is enormous. It's staggering the amount of money that they spend on advertising and telling you you're sick.
They're advertising for themselves. I mean, the papers and newspapers are so the pharmaceutical can put all the money they want into the newspapers because they're getting it all right back.
Yeah. And the FDA, which is supposed to be sort of the watchdog, government watchdog, is very ineffective. It doesn't have enough of a budget so that a lot of its expenses are donated by, you know who, the pharmaceutical industry. And there's a lot of tie-ins between the pharmaceutical industry and Congress and how they create legislation.
Did you now how do people get your books? And
well, the publisher is Author House, and they're also available on the internet from Amazon. And Author House, there's a telephone number for ordering books, and it's 888-280-7715. And their website, I think, is authorhouse.org. Authorhouse, all one word.
be right there.
Yep.
Sorry, I had to warm the coffee up.
Okay.
All right. No, let me ask you now. Is there a possibility that there's any people out there that can finance this whole freedom movement? I mean, the Liberty Village. It's almost essential. I think it's almost essential to our survival to get up this alternative source of foods.
Right.
So,
I've
also, now I've been doing, up on my website, freeamerican.com, I've got a business plan put together, and I talk about a lot of the projects that I've had, the books and the films and stuff like that I put out, this radio show. That's important. I mean, the information that we're putting out is important.
I'm glad you told me. I'm going to take a look at that.
It's freeamerican.com. libertyvillages.org is linked on the on the banners.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for partners in this. I've been publishing for 20 years until the accident. The accident was the turning point in my life. Suddenly I went from having everything, to having nothing.
Yeah, okay. I know that feeling.
Well, this goes right back to the pharmaceutical companies. They got me into a hospital with 3 broken ribs and kept me drugged for 3 months.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. They ran up a $750,000 hospital bill for 3 broken ribs. Oh, and a broken collarbone. Oh, and a bump on the head.
God, that's amazing. 3 months you were in the hospital?
4 months. I was
4 months.
unconscious for 3. I have no memory of being in 3 hospitals for 3 months. I've got no memory of that. Now, was that a head injury, or was it a result of being fed Halcyon, Haldol, Valium, and morphine?
Well, I certainly don't know, but if it was a traumatically induced coma, that's one thing. But if they were administering drugs to you, that's another.
They had me on those drugs that I mentioned: morphine, Halcyon, Haldol, Valium, and who knows what else. And I also, after I became conscious, I got visits from people that said they were with the government.
Really?
Yes, sir. That's all up. That's a part of my book, Mystery Babylon. That's I've got the whole story in that. The last 7 years, I've had one of my magazines sold, Bromwell, for $500,000, and I still retained half of it. They put a press release. We signed a contract on Wednesday with a publicly traded company. They put a press release in on Friday. On Monday, I walked into the office. The CEO is white and shaking. I can't go through with a deal, Clay. They're threatening to impeach me. They've contacted every stockholder in the company to tell them what a right-wing, radical, anti-Semite son of a bitch you are. And so the deal went down. The Liberty Villages I was going to do, they sent somebody in that said, well, your credit's bad, so I'll put it in my name, but we'll do the Liberty Villages. They bought the property for me. I had $50,000 to put back into the magazine, into the villages, to do the structures, the teepees, which we can distribute. I mean, I have a deal with the manufacturer. I can distribute the teepees. I can distribute the yurts. I can distribute the dome homes. I've got all that to distribute. All the thing I need is land to put it on, and the money to buy them. And we can get that. We can get all of that with advertising for less than $2,000. I can put this show and the Liberty Villages in radio, television interview report that'll reach 6,000 radio stations, television stations. And we're not talking about we're not talking about radical. We're not talking about Occupy. We're not talking about Tea Parties. We're talking about self-sufficient family farms here. That'll take us out of the political arena. And as soon as we build one, and I've got people in different areas. Or we got people in Texas. We got people here, people there that have the land and are willing to work with us. If we can get the financing to do this and the advertising to do this, and it'll generate.
What's really going on
hang on a second.
That mainstream media won't tell you. Are you
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just I gotta shut a couple of these things down, so just hold on with me for just a second.
Yeah, sure.
Call recording has been completed.
Okay.